Hi everybody, and welcome to today's workshop. We're really excited for today's topic. My name is Dorima Hamilton and I'm the Executive Director of Ideal CDC, or Avance Latino. For today's topic, we'll be talking about careers, but more specifically about the banking industry and what that entails. I know when we think about banking, we think about the tellers and possibly the managers or the people that process loans, but there's so many careers that people don't know about that are in banking. But before we get started, I just want to remind you all to please follow our page, subscribe. If you have any questions, let us down below in the chat so we can answer those either in a follow-up session or throughout this conversation. But with that, I want to welcome our very special guest, Binuri Fonseka, who is joining us from RBB, and she's going to be sharing a little bit about herself, but more specifically about her role. And so, Binuri, thank you so much for joining us and accepting this invitation to be with us here today. So, but to get started, you want to share a little bit about yourself, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Dorima. Thank you so much for having me. I love working with you and with Ideal, so I'm really excited to share with the students, hopefully maybe a career that they didn't know about before.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll be interested in this later on. So really quickly, just to introduce myself, my name is Binuri Fonseka. I am the Community Outreach Officer at Royal Business Bank. So I oversee a lot of our community relationships with nonprofit organizations, as well as low to moderate income individuals. There's a lot that I do in this role, so we'll talk more about that later. But just really briefly, I grew up in Sri Lanka, which is a small island near India. So I only moved here in 2015 to go to college, and then I graduated in 2019. So I haven't been here that long, but I'm proud to say that I got this job right out of college, and I've been working at Royal Business Bank for about 2 years now.
Oh, wow. Awesome. That's really cool and very unique that you came here specifically to study in college, and then now you're here because of your career. So, which kind of leads us into the next thing that I wanted you to share a little bit about is, what did you study in school and how did that tie to or not tie into what you're doing today?
Sure. So I went to California State University, Northridge, and I got a bachelor's in business law and also finance. So I guess finance kind of is related to banking, but it's not related to what I do. So I would say your major doesn't matter as much in college. It's more the soft skills that you learn. You learn how to talk to people. You know, your written and oral communication in college. That's really important. As a business law major, I did a lot of reading and writing. I actually majored in that because I thought I wanted to be a lawyer in the future. Mm-hmm. But somewhere in between those 4 years of college, I realized that wasn't what I wanted to do anymore. And I wanted to go into something else. So I can talk about how that happened as well.
Yeah, sure. Share a little bit about that, because I know me personally, I can relate to that as well. I studied something completely different. I did psychology with an emphasis in business human resources, and now I'm here running a nonprofit. So possibly talk a little bit about that and how you got there.
Yeah, and there you go. A lot of stories that I hear, even from my friends and then other college students that I speak to, their major is not related to their job at all. And it's something that you figure out later. College does help you figure that out because you can take so many different classes and kind of realize what it is you like to do. So how that happened for me is in my third year of college, I started looking for internships, for summer internships. So I went on Indeed and other websites like ZipRecruiter, and I was just going through a bunch of jobs, and it was honestly a numbers game. I applied to so many different internships. I went in for interviews. I got rejected by a lot of companies. So don't get discouraged when that happens. Just keep going. Eventually, you'll get the job that's right for you. So for me, it was I got an internship at CTBC Bank, which is actually where I met my current boss. So my internship was cool because I got to rotate between three different departments in
Okay.
within banking. So it was BSA, which stands for Bank Secrecy Act. That department kind of makes sure there's basically nothing shady going on with the customer accounts.
Yeah.
So you're making sure that there's no money laundering and things like that. The second department was compliance. That they're like the police of the bank. They make sure that everybody else, all the other departments and all the other employees are following all the rules and regulations. And then the third department was CRA, which is Community Reinvestment Act, and that's where I am now. So over the 3 months, I got to rotate between all three of these departments and learn what all of them do. So that was what was really cool about my internship was that, I got to learn about different careers in banking. I had not heard about any of these three before then.
Yeah.
Um, so it was really exciting to learn about that. And that's how I pinpointed, wow, I didn't know banks were regulated to give back to the community through CRA.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was something I was always passionate in, even in high school, even in college. I used to volunteer a lot, but I never knew that I could make a career out of it until I started interning. And then what happened was after my internship, I connected with everybody that I had worked with at CTBC. I connected with them on LinkedIn. When I left, I gave all of them little thank you cards so that, it was something different that a lot of them said nobody had ever done before. So it was just like a little personal touch. And it worked out later for me when I was looking for a job once I graduated college, because I saw that the CRA officer at CTBC Bank, who was Mona, was now at Royal Business Bank. So when I was graduating from college and looking for all of these, I was just looking for a job basically, like anybody about to finish school.
Yeah.
I was looking for a job and I came across a BSA job I came across a BSA job on Indeed at Royal Business Bank. And I knew that Mona had now moved to Royal Business Bank. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you know anybody in this department that you could maybe introduce me to and give them a resume? And she actually told me, she was like, hey, sure, I can do that for you, but there's also a opening in my department, which is CRA. And she sent me the job description for that and was like, go through both of these, whichever one you like, or you can apply to both, and I will be happy to, send your resume into HR and stuff. So networking helped, and it also helped me, it helped me get the job that I really wanted, which was in CRA and helping the community.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a really long story.
No, no, no. It's good, and I'm glad you really, had the time to really share beginning to end and what the result is now. But there were a couple things that you did mention that I think are very key. The first being an internship, and how important that is. I know for me, that was very important. I did an internship in those fields, which is how I got the career that I did. First, now I'm in a completely different field and I didn't intern for it, but internships were very, very crucial. So, can you talk a little about how important that was for you and just your development as you get into this career and how you decided between all of these?
Sure. So internships, I think, especially because of my experience, I think they're very important.
Yeah.
And it's also a way for you to learn
Mm-hmm.
because going into an internship kind of feels like going into a real job.
Yeah.
So you learn things that you don't learn in the classroom. You learn how to work with other people, what company culture is like, whether or not you like that type of corporate environment. Um, and it also gives you a chance to experience different things. And, it creates a sort of discipline for you.
Yeah.
and an expectation for what it's going to be like once you graduate and go into a real job. And this is
Mm-hmm.
also a way for you to learn without, um, what's the word?
I guess risk.
Without being, I'm sorry?
I guess risk too would be.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's the word I was looking for. It's like it's not a lot of risk because it's not a permanent job,
Yeah.
but also you are making connections with people there, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you're making good connections. Like they remember you as somebody who worked hard and
Yeah.
somebody they would want to hire once you graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, internships are very important. It is hard to get them because competition is high. Everybody's trying to get an internship. Everyone's trying to learn, trying to create connections for later on. Um, so I would start early. For me, I started later than I should have. It would
Mm-hmm.
have been nice if I interned in my sophomore year as well, maybe at a different company, so that you get that other experience. I
Yeah.
only had experience in a bank. Maybe I should have interned in like an entertainment company or, a
Or
tech
a law
company.
firm.
Exactly. Probably should have done a law firm.
Yeah, no, that's really good, and I think it's very important. That's something that I always tell even just my younger brothers or people that I know that ask for advice like, "Well, what can I do while I'm in college?" I'm like, "Intern." Especially if you can find an internship that pays. And I was
Mhm.
lucky enough to find one that paid and gave me college credit. So it gave me I got 2 classes worth of credit because of the internship and how much knowledge I was able to gain that I was able to get 2 classes taken off my senior year that I didn't have to take anymore. So it saved me money, but it also saved me time. So that was really nice. So I think internships are very, very important. Like you said, if you can start earlier, is so much better. Like you, I did it my junior year going into my senior year. So I wish I would have known about it my sophomore year, or even my freshman year going into my sophomore year, because like you said, you're building that resume, but you're also building your experience and your network, and that's so, so important, and something that I find that is more valuable, I would say, as you're looking for a career, is having that person that you can call. You mentioned earlier that you were able to call Mona and say, "Hey, I'm interested in this career." And then she mentioned, probably because you were a hard worker and you did such a good job in your internship, she's like, "By the way, maybe you can work for my team." So if you're interested, and the fact that she offered you, there's probably a higher chance of you getting that position, which you now have, versus you going in not knowing anybody or having that experience. So, can you talk a little bit about how important it is for students to start building that network and how valuable they are?
Yeah, networks are so important, especially in corporate America.
Yeah.
But I will say this, for my internship, I made a choice not to go to somebody that I knew to get an internship.
Mm-hmm.
I have relatives who work in other finance companies, who I could have asked for an internship, but I chose
Mm.
not to. I chose to try to find something on my own, which I was lucky enough to do. But if you have a network and you want to use that, you should, 100% you should use it. But I built my network from the ground up, from my internship, from my job that I had in college. I also, still keep in touch with people that I worked with there. So it is important to have a network. And then again, I got this job because of that network that I built. So even if you don't have one yet, you will build it. It's something that takes time. It takes effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and something that I went to a workshop once when I was in college about they were talking about LinkedIn and like how to build it and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said something that stuck with me to now. And they said that your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
And I believe that to be true.
Yes.
Even now, because I've met so many people in this field, people have actually reached out to me saying, "Hey, do you want a job at this bank or at this company?" So it's really nice when other people reach out to you asking to hire you. instead of you going to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that takes time. It just takes time, but it is an important thing to do.
Yeah, yeah. I say that all the time. As cheesy as it sounds, your network is your net worth because it's true. Even just as me being executive director of a nonprofit, having a network is so important because I mean, it turns into funding and turns into more relationships with the community. It helps you build bigger what you can do with the programs that you want to accomplish or grow. And so I say that all the time, like network with your teachers because you just never
Mhm.
know. They might have a relative that's in the field that you want to pursue, and you just don't know if you don't have that conversation or build that relationship with that person. Because how cool is it that people are calling you? And I've had that happen to me before, and it's like, oh my gosh, that feels so nice that I'm being pursued rather than being on the other side of pursuing that career and like hoping they call you back, right?
And it's so encouraging. It's like,
Yeah,
wow, so I am doing a good job. People do
right.
see that.
Yeah,
And just to add on to that, you shouldn't only network with people that you think are in the industry that you're interested in.
right.
You should network with all sorts of people because you
Yeah,
never know. You never know who might hire you one day.
yeah.
So, yes.
It's true, which kind of goes into having good relationships with people. And like earlier, you added that when you were doing your internship, you added that personal note and how important that is because that stays with people and they remember those, those little touch points, even just a simple, hey, I know it's your birthday, even though I don't work for you anymore because my internship ended, but happy birthday. They'll remember those little things. And so it's always good to do that when you're interning or even you're at an entry level job because you just don't know what other door might open because of those little touch points that you do and build that relationship, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to ask you is like, okay, so CRA, what is that? What are your responsibilities when it comes to that? I know that is a very interesting topic. Now that I've learned about it myself, but how about you share a little bit about what your day to day looks like?
Sure. I love talking about my job. So, CRA stands for Community Reinvestment Act, and that is a regulation. So, banks are regulated by the government
Mm-hmm.
to give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you can't do this job if you don't have the heart for it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to actually be interested in helping people and be interested in the community and
Mm-hmm.
low to moderate income people around you. And you have to be empathetic as well. So, just to go over a little bit about what the regulation is
Yeah.
the bank has to lend. So, we have to make sure that we lend to low to moderate income families so that they could buy a home.
Yeah.
We have to lend to small businesses. So, we make sure that we're not only lending to super rich people. We have to be helping people as well. Um, so a part of my job is making sure, even though I personally don't do the lending, I have to track our numbers and make sure that it's happening within the bank. We're meeting certain goals. So that is like the reporting aspect of my job, which is fun. But there's also the side where I volunteer and I give donations to nonprofit organizations. So there's lending and then there is services. So services is the volunteering part of it. Um, Me and my team volunteer, but also we make sure that the rest of the bank volunteers.
Mm.
So all of our vice presidents and above, everybody volunteers. They are on boards of organizations. They give workshops. They do career speaker workshops like this, where they share their knowledge with students. We do workshops where we talk about savings. Why is it important to save? How do you budget? What is credit? Why do you need it? Um, so we do a bunch of different financial literacy workshops.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of volunteering, and then the last aspect of it is investing in the community. So that means donations to nonprofit organizations, to help with their programs and services to keep it running. Because nonprofit organizations offer so much to the low to moderate income community that banks themselves can't do. Like
Mm-hmm.
you do what we can't do. But we do like to support it by giving you a donation and also volunteering with you.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, that's kind of what my job is. I do all of those things. Um, Luckily, we have three people in our department now, including my boss. So it's a little less work. I can step away a little bit from the reporting aspect and be
Mm-hmm.
more involved in the community, which is the part that I love the most. So I'm happy about that. Pre-pandemic, I used to be able to go visit our partners and just have meetings with them, observe their programs and things like that. Go to lunch with them and just talk about what's going on in the community. What is it that you need from us? How can we help you? Um, I used to be able to do things like that, but now it's just all virtual. So now I'm hoping I can go back to that, go back to seeing them in person. And I look forward to that. And we do have over 50 partners. So I maintain relationships with all of those partners. We have check-in calls every couple times a year, sometimes more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what my day looks like.
Wow, you do a lot. No, I know you don't do all that in one day, and it's just like spread out depending on what the goal for that day or that week is and where you guys are at. But I can definitely attest that you, first of all, prior to you joining the bank, RBB has been with us as a partner from almost the inception of this organization. So you guys have been with us from the very beginning and have watched us grow and not only invested as far as donations go, but you guys have really invested in the organization as like a sharing knowledge, sharing expertise, sharing, different tools and resources, education. I mean, I was really looking forward to last year having another Shark Tank, which we did in 2019, and that was so much fun. Hopefully we can do that. I don't know about this year, but maybe next year once we get our Ideal Wealth Academy going once again and can do that. But that is really awesome. And I can really see how you and the team there, RBB, are really invested in the community and truly care. I know how I've had multiple conversations with you guys, and you just really want to know, well, what's really going on in the community and what can we do from a lending perspective, but also from a volunteer perspective, and of course, and a donation aspect, right? And so it's really good to see that. And I'm sure it's really nice to be able to do that and see the face of the community and see what that impact does, whether it's volunteer time, donation, or just bringing in a product that is going to bring value and help the community build that wealth, And so it's really nice to see. And I know it feels good to be part of that. And so I'm sure getting out in the community is something that you love, because I love it myself, and I definitely miss that. And so it's good that now we're doing our food drives again every month and being able to have that touch point with our community and see, okay, this is what's going on, and have that conversation more in person versus virtual, which is nice. And I'm glad for technology, but it's definitely not the same like how it is in person. But yeah, so I wanted to now ask you and talk a little bit about, okay, well, what sort of opportunities are there available when it comes to careers or internships, or what, I don't know, other careers perhaps that other students can pursue as they start thinking about, going to college or graduating college and thinking about, okay, what should I be doing now?
Yeah, of course. So in banking, like I said, there are a lot of careers in banking that you may not know about yet.
Yeah.
A bank has to have an IT department. Maybe you're interested in technology, and you don't want to work for a tech company, work for a bank. We have an IT department, we have HR, we have accounting, finance, and then also CRA, of course. So there's a lot of different internships and careers that you can try. And my first internship actually at CTBC, that was paid.
Oh,
So if you can
awesome.
find a paid internship, that's just like the cherry on top.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if RBB has any right now. I know that we do have an internship program, but I don't know if it started up again
Mm-hmm.
because of the pandemic. We weren't
Yeah.
bringing anybody in. Um, But something that other people have done that I know of is when you're looking for an internship anywhere, it doesn't have to be at a bank. You find the company that you are applying for and maybe see who else works there, and you can just reach out to them on LinkedIn. Most of the time,
Yeah.
they are happy to help, even if they don't know you, and you just want to know about the role and the company. Just reach out to them on LinkedIn. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And that actually happened to me recently. Somebody, I guess, saw that I had interned at CTBC, and they reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, I just wanted to talk about how your internship went, if you liked it and what you learned there." So there are people out there willing to help, even if they don't know you personally.
Yeah, and I think that's, something that I share with some of my students and, young people that are, either graduating college or going to go to college is to establish a LinkedIn profile and how important that is. It's like the Facebook of the career world.
Mhm.
And really, the worst that can happen when you reach out to someone is they say no. That's literally the worst thing that can happen. But like you, my experience has always been like, oh, I can't help you, but let me connect you with someone who can. It's never been like, no, leave me alone,
Yeah.
unless you're trying to sell them something. But other than that, like people are very, very helpful and want to help in any way. So they're really nice. So that's a great. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something that I share all the time. So I know they hear it from me, but hearing it from someone else is definitely a good thing. So I'm glad you shared that. So would you say like LinkedIn is a good place for students and people that are looking to now pursue a different career or go into the career that they're looking for is a good place to build those connections?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know where else you would do that except for LinkedIn, like
Yeah.
career-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's made for professionals
Right.
and people trying to become professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like sending a friend request on Facebook. It's different. You know that it's for a professional purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would take advantage of it because it is free.
Right.
Um, and just build your network.
Yeah. And share your accomplishments on there as well. Like, don't be shy. I know sometimes it could be a little intimidated. And sometimes even my husband will be like, you need to update that on your LinkedIn. And I'm like, I don't know why I need to. Like, I don't think I'm going to change careers, but you just never know. Right. And so it's
Mhm.
good to build that all along the way versus all at once when you are looking for that job. Right. So I think it's good to do that and update all your accomplishments.
Yeah, and
So,
also
mhm.
adding just everything that you've done, like your work
Yeah.
experience, and adding descriptions, that
Hmm.
helps recruiters. Like if they're looking for somebody who has your experience, they could come across your profile because of your keywords,
Yeah.
and they may reach out to you.
That's true. Yeah, I would also add to that is any volunteer experience that you have too that is good that you've done not when you were a kid, I would say at least high school and up. Put that in your profile and mention how you volunteered for all those different organizations or did different things in the community. Those are really good things to highlight as well. But yeah, so is there anything else or any other advice you have for students or anybody watching this video that's like either considering a career in banking or just careers in general, what sort of things they should be planning for or doing?
This is probably something that they hear a lot, but putting yourself out of your comfort zone when
Yeah.
you're in high school and college is really important. I had a professor who was like a mentor to me who pushed me to do that. So she made me join a bunch of different clubs in school. And then eventually, so she pushed me to join the business honors program, which was, it was a program, but it was also, there was a club associated to it. So I joined that. And then about a year later, she pushed me to apply as a vice president, to run for vice president of that club, which I did. And she pushed me because she knew that I hated public speaking. It's still one of my weaknesses that I'm working on. But going out and doing that, it makes it easier for later.
Yeah.
For when you're in your job, you can't tell your boss, no, I don't want to go speak at that workshop. Um, then you'd be fired probably, or they wouldn't give you as much credit if you're not able to step up. So it's important to learn those skills early on. So whatever it is that you think that you need to work on, college is the best place to do it. Because you're learning, you're in a learning environment. You have that chance to try different things, maybe fail, but learn something from it.
Right.
So yeah, I would say push yourself out of your comfort zone. And then something that I forgot to add earlier is make connections with your professors in college or your teachers in high school. My mentor from college was one of my professors, and I took so many of her classes just because I liked her so much. And we like still have a connection. She actually helped me build my resume. She helped me with a bunch of different things. So it's nice to have a mentor or somebody that you can talk to outside of your family or your friends. I'm sure, Dorima, you're a mentor to all of these students probably. So I encourage them to take advantage of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's very important, is to have that relationship outside of your friend group, outside of your family or your comfort zone. Get out of that, because they can really give you that honest feedback and really help you. And a lot of the times we see feedback or criticism as something negative, but I see it as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to get better. Believe it or not, I used to hate being in front of the camera. I used to hate talking in front of people, but I can't really say no, especially if I'm running an organization like that all they do is workshops and public speaking, and so I had to just, it is what it is, and I'll get better, and I remember one day I was doing a workshop and I just was translating. I couldn't figure it out, and so I started crying, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's okay. And then everybody was so nice, and they started helping me translate, because I was just getting so nervous. But now I'm so much better, and I don't let it get to me. I just laugh about it. I'm like, okay, well, what? I don't know. I don't know what that is.
If you didn't say that, I wouldn't be able to tell that you were ever afraid of it.
Yeah, it took years, but here we are. But yeah, I think that's very true. And I think that, it's good to tell students that, because a lot of times we tend to like go into our comfort zone and just hide. But once you step out and really build that confidence, which is very, very important, only you can build that, it really opens up more doors. Because I used to be afraid too when I would go to these networking meetings and ask people for funding or donations. It's like an uncomfortable subject. And to this day, I still, like, in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is so awkward. I'm going to ask someone for funding. Like, who am I? But then I just do it. The worst thing that they can say is no, or they can say, no, we can't do that, but we can do this. But I'll never know if I don't ask and put myself out there, right? I mean, the worst that can happen is no, but hey, why not? Can I grow from that? Is there a reason why? So it's all an opportunity, right? And just the way you see it. So I'm glad you shared that about yourself and how you were forced, and no, not forced, but encouraged to get out of your comfort zone. And here you are doing a workshop for us, and you've done multiple other workshops, which is great to see, because you wouldn't know that as well. So I appreciate you joining us. Is there anything else you want to add to that, or is that it, or?
I think that's it on my end, but if students have any questions, I'm pretty approachable. So anybody, feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Binuri. I really appreciate you just being so open and willing to join us here today for this topic. This is our first one that we're doing on this series about careers, so I really appreciate you being the first and being so willing to do this. And for everybody watching, if you guys have any questions or would like to connect with either Binuri or myself, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist you or help you along your journey. So with that, I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Dorima.
Thank you.